Heartland fans, the moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. After years of speculation, fan theories, and endless hope, Ty Borden is making his grand return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1. The news of his return has sent shockwaves through the Heartland fandom, bringing excitement, curiosity, and, of course, a flood of emotions. Ever since Ty's heartbreaking departure, fans have held on to the dream that one day he would find his way back to Amy, Lindy, and the Heartland family. And now, in what promises to be one of the most powerful and emotional episodes in Heartland history, we finally witness this long-awaited reunion. How does Ty return? How do Amy, Lindy, Jack, Lou, Georgie, and Tim react? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of the show? Stick around as we break down every emotional moment, every heartfelt word exchanged, and every tearful embrace. Trust me, this is the episode Heartland fans have been waiting for. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss an update on Heartland Season 19. Now, let's get into it. The day begins just like any other at Heartland Ranch. The morning sun casts a golden glow over the vast fields, and a gentle breeze rustles the leaves. Amy steps onto the front porch, clutching a warm cup of coffee in her hands. She takes a deep breath, inhaling the familiar scent of fresh air mixed with the earthy aroma of horses. The ranch is quiet, except for the distant neighing of horses and the soft chirping of birds. Lindy, Amy's young daughter, giggles as she chases a foal near the fence, her tiny boots kicking up dust as she runs. Jack is in his usual spot near the barn, working on an old saddle, while Lo steps outside, already lost in her paperwork. Tim stands near the stables, his sharp eyes surveying the ranch, making sure everything is in order. Everything seems peaceful, a typical day at Heartland. But that peace is about to be shattered. A faint rumbling sound breaks the morning tranquility. At first, no one pays much attention to it, but as the noise grows louder, Jack looks up from his work, his brows furrowing in confusion. Lou stops mid-step, tightening her grip on the papers she's holding. Tim turns toward the road, his eyes narrowing as he sees an old pickup truck approaching in the distance. The truck looks oddly familiar, its tires kicking up dust as it moves closer. The once distant hum becomes a roaring engine as it slows down and rolls to a stop right in front of the ranch house. A thick silence falls over the family. No one speaks. No one moves. The truck door creaks open, and out steps a figure they never thought they'd see again, Ty Borden. For a moment, it feels like time has frozen. Amy's breath catches in her throat, and she grips the porch railing as if she needs support to stay standing. Her heart is pounding so hard she can hear it in her ears. Jack's usually steady hands falter, his knuckles turning white as he clenches the saddle he was working on. Lou's face drains of color, the papers slipping from her hands and scattering to the ground. Tim's expression hardens, his emotions unreadable, but his sharp gaze remains locked on Ty. Georgie, arriving just in time, halts in her tracks, her eyes wide with disbelief. Nobody can believe what they are seeing. The only one who doesn't understand the gravity of the situation is little Lindy. She tugs on Amy's sleeve, her innocent eyes filled with curiosity. "Mommy, who is that?" she asks softly. Amy's lips tremble, her mind struggling to process the moment. She barely manages to whisper, "It can't be." But it is. Ty, looking different yet heartbreakingly familiar, takes a step forward. His rugged face is marked by time and hardship, but his eyes remain the same, deep and warm, filled with a mixture of longing and hesitation. His gaze locks onto Amy, and for a split second, it's as if they are the only two people in the world. Then, finally, he speaks. "Amy." His voice is soft, almost hesitant, as if he's afraid she'll disappear if he says it too loudly. The sound of it sends a shiver down Amy's spine. It's real. He's real. Lindy looks between her mother and the man standing before them. Something about him feels familiar, but she can't quite understand why. She tugs on Amy's sleeve again, her little voice full of confusion. "Mommy, who is he?" Amy blinks back tears, struggling to find her voice. She kneels down to her daughter's level, holding her tiny hands gently. Her heart is pounding so hard she can barely breathe. With a shaky voice, she whispers, "Lindy, this is your dad." A silence heavier than before settles over the ranch. The weight of those words fills the air, hanging between them like an unspoken truth finally revealed. The unspoken truth has finally been revealed. Lindy's bright blue eyes widen as she looks at Ty, her tiny mind trying to process the revelation. "Daddy?" she repeats softly, her voice uncertain yet full of hope. Ty, overwhelmed with emotion, kneels down to her level, his hands trembling as he reaches out. His eyes glisten with unshed tears as he whispers, "Yes, sweetheart. It's me." Without hesitation, Lindy takes a step forward, then another, and before anyone can react, she runs straight into Ty's arms. Ty closes his eyes, wrapping his arms around his daughter, holding her for the very first time. His grip tightens as if he's afraid to let go, as if this moment might slip away. Amy watches through blurry eyes, her hand covering her mouth as the emotions overwhelm her. No one has been more of a father figure to Ty Borden than Jack Bartlett. From the moment Ty arrived at Heartland as a troubled teenager, Jack took him under his wing, guided him, and molded him into the man he became. The bond between Jack and Ty was built on trust, respect, and unspoken love. So when Jack sees Ty standing before him, alive and breathing, it's a moment that shakes him to his very core. It happens in the barn, where Jack has spent decades working, thinking, and finding peace. He's saddling up his horse, adjusting the straps with calm, steady hands, but there's a heaviness in his eyes. Amy had told him that Ty was back, but Jack needed to see it for himself. Then he hears footsteps, familiar footsteps, the kind he thought he'd never hear again. Slowly, Jack turns, and there he is. Ty stands a few feet away, his expression filled with guilt, hope, and hesitation. His voice is rough with emotion. "Hey, Jack." Jack doesn't respond immediately. His blue eyes lock onto Ty, searching, reading him. His face remains unreadable, stoic as always, but deep down, there's a storm brewing. He takes a slow breath and finally speaks. "Well, I'll be damned." The words are quiet, yet they carry the weight of years of grief, anger, and relief. Jack removes his gloves, tossing them on a nearby hay bale. He steps forward, his gaze never leaving Ty. "You got a hell of a lot of nerve showing up here, son." Ty nods, expecting nothing less. "I know." Silence fills the barn. The tension is thick. For a moment, it seems like Jack might just walk away. But then, in a sudden, unexpected motion, Jack pulls Ty into a tight embrace. No words, just a deep, long overdue hug. Jack's grip is firm, almost as if he's afraid that if he lets go, Ty will disappear again. His throat tightens, but he refuses to let a single tear fall. Instead, he pats Ty's back roughly and mutters, "Don't you ever do that again." Ty exhales shakily, holding back his own emotions. "I won't." Jack steps back, nodding once. And then, just like that, he returns to his work, saddling his horse as if nothing happened. But the small, almost imperceptible smile on his face says everything. Jack Bartlett had never stopped believing in Ty, and now he finally has his grandson-in-law back where he belongs. While Jack's reaction is quiet and powerful, Lou Fleming is loud, emotional, and explosive, because that's just who she is. Lou has always been the protective older sister figure in Ty's life. She watched him grow, supported his relationship with Amy, and saw how deeply he loved her. So when he left, when he was gone for years, it broke something inside her. And now, suddenly, he's back. Lou first hears about Ty's return from Amy, and her first reaction isn't joy, it's pure, unfiltered anger. Amy barely finishes saying, "Ty's back," before Lo drops everything she's holding and storms toward the barn. She marches in, eyes blazing, heart pounding. Ty barely has time to turn around before she slaps him hard across the shoulder. "You unbelievable idiot!" Ty barely reacts, rubbing his arm with a sheepish expression. "Yeah, I deserve that." Lou isn't done. You think her voice cracks slightly, revealing the depth of her emotions. "Do you have any idea what you put Amy through? What you put all of us through?" Ty looks down, shame written all over his face. "I do, Lou, and I'm sorry." Lou lets out a bitter laugh, crossing her arms. "Sorry? That's it? You disappeared, Ty. Amy mourned you. Lindy grew up without a father. And now what? You just walk in and expect everything to go back to normal?" Ty looks her in the eyes. "No, I don't expect anything. I just want to make things right." Lou's expression softens, but only slightly. There's still fire in her eyes, but underneath the anger is love deep, protective, sisterly love. After a long pause, she exhales sharply and shakes her head. "You better, because if you hurt Amy or Lindy again, I will personally make sure you regret it." Ty smiles slightly. "I wouldn't expect anything less." With that, Lou pulls him into a tight hug. It's quick, fierce, and full of unspoken words. When she pulls away, she wipes a tear before it falls and mutters, "Welcome home, Ty." If Lou's reaction was explosive, Tim Fleming's is downright nuclear. Ty knows this is going to be the hardest conversation. Tim has always been tough on him, even after he became part of the family. Tim doesn't forgive easily, and he certainly doesn't let people off the hook when they hurt his daughter. So when Ty steps into the house and finds Tim sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, jaw tight, he braces himself. Tim doesn't move, he just stares. "Hey, Tim," Ty says, his voice careful. Tim scoffs. "That's all you've got?" "Hey, Tim." He leans forward, narrowing his eyes. "You've been gone for years, Ty. Years. And now you just decide to show up?" Ty swallows hard. "I didn't decide to be gone, Tim. I didn't have a choice." Tim slams his hand on the table. "And neither did Amy. Neither did Lindy." He shakes his head, his voice thick with emotion. "You left them, Ty? And now you expect us to just forgive you?" Ty takes a deep breath. "No, but I'm asking you to let me prove myself." Tim's eyes are cold. "You've got a long way to go, kid." A long silence stretches between them. Then, finally, Tim stands up and walks past Ty. Just as he reaches the door, he mutters, "Don't screw this up." It's not an embrace. It's not forgiveness. But for Tim Fleming, it's the first step toward it. Inside the house, the family gathers in the living room. The atmosphere is heavy with tension. Amy sits close to Lindy, her fingers gripping her daughter's hand tightly, as if afraid Ty might disappear again. Jack, Lo, Tim, and Georgie sit across from Ty, their eyes filled with unspoken questions. Ty takes a deep breath before speaking. "I know what you're all thinking. You all thought I was gone, and I did too, for a long time." Amy swallows hard, her heart breaking all over again. "Then what happened?" she whispers. Ty looks down at his hands, the guilt visible on his face. "After I got shot, I didn't die. I was taken in by a small medical clinic near the border. I was unconscious for months. And when I woke up," he pauses, his voice shaking, "I didn't remember who I was." A collective gasp fills the room. Lou's eyes widen. Amnesia? She breathes. Ty nods. I didn't remember anything Heartland, Amy, Lindy. I spent years trying to figure out who I was. And then one day, I saw a newspaper article about Heartland. It triggered something in me. Everything came back. And the only thing I wanted to do was come home. Amy wipes away tears, shaking her head. Why didn't you come back sooner? Ty's eyes meet hers, filled with sorrow. Because I was scared. I was afraid too much time had passed. That you had moved on. Jack exhales deeply before speaking. You're a damn fool, son. But you're home now. That night, Amy and Ty sit on the porch, looking up at the stars. Finally, Amy asks the question that's been weighing on her heart. Are you really back? Ty takes her hand in his, squeezing it gently. His voice is steady, full of emotion. For good. Forever. A tear slips down Amy's cheek. But for the first time in years, it's not sadness, it's hope. Ty's return has changed everything. His presence alone has reopened old wounds, healed broken hearts, and brought a sense of hope that had been lost for years. But what happens next? Can Amy and Ty rebuild what was broken? Can Lindy adjust to having a father she never knew? And how will the rest of the family react as time goes on? One thing is for sure, Heartland will never be the same again. If you're excited for what's next, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Ty's return? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.